Hi everyone, my name is Ng Xing Yuan with 25004399. I'm from Group 4 in Tutorial 2, and today our group is going to present about Chapter 4, the Management Environment. Before we begin, I would like to introduce the members in Group 4, and these are our group members. And here we have the others 5 lovely group members. Let us discuss about question 1. How much impact do managers actually have on an organization's success or failure? In fact, managers' part in organization success or failure is limited because the performance of the organization is still affected by the external environment. Managers represent order and authority by planning, making decisions, and performing managerial activities that brings clarity and direction to uncertain situations. However, their decisions and actions are still constrained by the external factors. And what is the external factors? External factors, we also call as external environment, is outside factors and forces that affect the organization's operations, performance, and decision making. And there are 6 components of the external factors, which is political, economic, demographic, social-cultural, technological, and global. Managers play an important role in shaping an organization's success. They plan, make decisions, and lead employees towards achieving goals. Their actions strongly influence the areas such as employee motivation, efficiency, and workplace culture. However, an organization's performance is affected by the external factors too that manager cannot control. Performance largely influenced by the external factors that beyond managerial control, such as the state of the economy, customer preference, government policies, and competitors' actions. For example, in the category of technological, one of the change which is sustainable technology is emphasized by the public nowadays. Managers have to rearrange the allocation of the resources in the organizations to reduce waste and energy consumption. In conclusion, although managers have a significant internal influence through leadership and decision making, but their internal impact is moderated by the external environment. Thus, managers have only minor impact on an organization's success or failure.
Hi everyone, my name is Shu Xun, and I'll be answering question 2. Why do managers need an understanding of what happens outside their organization? The external environment refers to all the factors, forces, situations, and events that exist outside an organization but have a direct or indirect impact on its performance. These components include economic component, such as interest rates and inflation, demographic component, which are trends in population characteristics, technological component, like scientific and industrial innovations, sociocultural component, such as value, lifestyle, political component, laws and regulations, and the global component are issues associated with globalization. There are 3 key reasons why managers must understand the external environment. First, external environment directly affects organization performance. Changes in interest rates, new competitors, supply chain disruptions, or political instability can all significantly affect a company's success. The primary task of a manager is to ensure and improve organizational performance. Therefore, any variable that affects performance, especially external ones, must be within their control. Second, to address and manage environmental uncertainty. A stable environment might have no new competitors, making management relevantly straightforward. However, the world we live in today is full of change and complexity. Managers must scan the environment like a random to reduce uncertainty and make sound decisions. Third, for effective stakeholder management. Their decision and action affect numerous external groups, and these groups, in turn, influence the organization. Managers must identify and manage this complex relationship effectively. Next, let's see how these theories apply in reality through 2 examples. The first examples come from the technological component. Since late 2022, generative AI technologies like ChatGPT have made huge breakthroughs and rapidly expanded across industry. What specific implication does this have for managers? In planning, a principal of market consulting firm is now required to develop a roadmap for integrating AI tools into market analysis and content creation workflows. The manager can no longer plan based on old models. In organizing, the manager needs to establish an AI application task force and organize AI skill training for all employees. This means the organizational structure and the resource needs to be reconfigured. In controlling, the manager must implement new quality control process to monitor the accuracy and the compliance for AI-generated content. Without effective control, technological innovation can pose significant risk. The second example comes from the demographic component. The case is the rise of Gen Z. How should manager respond? In planning, a partner at an accounting firm needs to strategize for hybrid work models and more frequent career development reviews. In organizing, the manager needs to adjust organizational structure and resource allocation. For instance, establishing a dedicated Gen Z talent development task force and reallocating budget for software that supports flexible work or for corporate social responsibility projects. In leading, the manager must shift communication and motivation strategies to place greater emphasis on the purpose and meaning of work, rather than focusing solely on compensation. This means leadership style must evolve with the time. We can see that the external environment is by no means a distant concept irrelevant to managers. Therefore, understanding the external environment is no longer an option for managers. It is a survival skill and a core competency they must master in this rapidly changing area.
Next, let's talk about how has the change economics affected what managers do. Transformation that occurs within an economy may have a powerful impact on a business. The change economy, especially in the wake of the COVID-19 pandemic, triggered the COVID-19 recession, caused massive shift in labor markets, such as the rise of remote work. Due to COVID-19 pandemic, the widespread adoption of remote work fundamentally altered daily management practices, which managers had to pivot from informal, in-person discussions to structured online communication through video conferencing or chat. This requires new skills in digital communication and ensuring clarity without face-to-face cues. The second change economy was the dot-com bubble in the United States from 2000 to 2002, caused by the collapse of inflated tech stock values that led to the early 2000s recession and was exacerbated by the September 11 attacks. The September 11 attacks caused immediate economic disruption and long-term shift in government spending, security measures, and certain industries like air travel and insurance, which managers were forced to formalize and significantly upgrade their risk management strategies to account for non-traditional threats. The destruction of critical infrastructure and loss of personnel, especially in New York City, necessitated the creation and rigorous testing of disaster recovery and business continuity plans. Managers had to ensure off-site data backups and redundant operational capabilities, whilst increased security measures, especially in transportation and logistics, added new complexities and costs. The third change economy happened when a slowdown in productivity in the early 2000s in advanced economies and intensified after the 2008 to 2009 financial crisis has moderated globally, although it continues to lag in the United States. Low productivity is often linked to decreased engagement, burnout, and low morale. Therefore, managers adopt inclusive and transparent leadership to build trust, foster a positive culture, and ensure employees feel valued. Coming up next, find 2 or 3 examples in current business periodicals of activities and practices that organizations are using. Discuss them in light of the changed environment. Here are 3 key examples from current business periodicals. First of all, e-commerce. E-commerce serves as a crucial business practice and activity involving the use of websites to showcase and sell products. allowing businesses to reach global customers without the need for a physical presence, playing a significant role in the global economy. It allows businesses to scale operations, reach wider audiences, and respond swiftly to market changes. In light of the changed environment, e-commerce provides a cost-effective global reach, mitigating risk from local economic slowdowns or geopolitical trade barriers. If one market is unstable, the manager can quickly pivot marketing resources to a more stable online region. The digital environment generates vast amounts of real-time customer data, including customer preferences and customer spending patterns, that enable managers to make rapid personalized pricing and product decisions, which is critical in a competitive, recession-sensitive market. The current environment and economy is defined by persistent inflation and reduced consumer spending power. Consumers are highly price sensitive, increasing the importance of competitive pricing strategies, and therefore Amazon uses its scale and digital platform to offer value and maintain market share. One of the e-commerce examples will be Amazon's dynamic pricing. Amazon's e-commerce platform acts as a giant price setting engine, using sophisticated algorithms to maintain competitive edge in an environment where consumers are highly price sensitive due to inflation. Amazon's algorithms monitor competitor prices, supply levels, and sales velocity, often changing prices multiple times per day on millions of products. This ensures they consistently offer a competitive price point. The ability to adjust prices rapidly allows Amazon to pass cost shocks such as rising supplier costs through to the consumer more quickly, or conversely, immediately lower prices to respond to a competitor's move. This increased price flexibility is a hallmark of e-commerce in the current volatile economy. The second activity and practice in current business periodicals that organizations are using is a focus on supply chain and organizational resilience. It is done by diversifying supply chains away from single regions or vendors, by actively expanding the supplier base beyond single regions to avoid single points of failure. Therefore, organizations move away from pure globalization towards regionalization or multi-sourcing to maintain supply continuity. In light of the changed environment, recent events such as geopolitical conflicts and pandemics have demonstrated the fragility of highly optimized, just-in-time supply chains. Additionally, there might be unexpected disruptions in the supply chain, such as shipping delays or ingredient shortages. The examples of focus on supply chain and organizational resilience will be Starbucks. Instead of relying on a single large warehouse, which is a JIT, just-in-time risk, Starbucks utilize regional distribution centers. As an evidence, they operate numerous regional distribution centers globally, strategically situated to minimize transportation delays. This decentralized approach maintains warehouse stocks at multiple points, creating a buffer against regional disruptions such as severe weather, port closures that could halt a centralized system.
Apart from that, the third practice is making a fast response towards environment change. This enables managers to be a fast decision maker, to not fall behind any chances that can profit their company. In terms of activities, an organization will have a clear and practical procedure with flexible simulation for decision-making in different circumstances. By this, employees' confusions can be reduced, and this encourages them to make a quick yet precise decision. Moving on to the change environment. Why will companies embrace this fast decision-making practice? This is due to the fact that COVID-19 has brought us to a business environment that is more dynamic and complex. Organization nowadays has to face a high degree of change, which may bring organization loss if companies respond to the business opportunity slowly. To dive into fast decision making of Starbucks as an example, they do improve their menus based on consumer preference in terms of flavors from time to time. This ensures that original consumer will feel fresh with Starbucks, while keep Starbucks of food and beverages on trend. Not only that, Fast response of Starbucks towards collaboration activities has enabled it to attract new potential customers. For example, Starbucks collaborates with e-hailing, which is Grab, and telecommunications companies, which is CelcomDigi, to give out coupons after a certain amount of purchase. In short, practice of fast response due to COVID-19 ensures a business success in such a dynamic environment.
Good morning everyone, my name is Sophia Goeli and my metric number is 25005562, and today I shall discuss the reason why manager should be attentive to the demographic trends and changes. To begin with, the demographic changes influence the workforce composition. With aging population, manager need to strategize retirement, redesign jobs and give flexible working arrangement to keep other employees. Besides, as the diversity increases in terms of gender, ethnicity and background, so managers should promote inclusiveness, equality and cultural sensitivity at the workplace. So this assists in establishing a better working and positive environment. So the next factor are educational demographic and population development, which stage availability of talent and skill in the labor market. So the manager should be in a positive to envisage possible shortages or supplies of skill. So they will then be able to change equipment, training and development strategies in order to make sure that organization is manifested with the right individual with the right skill. So, consumer markets are also influenced by demographic. Diverse age group possess diverse preference. As an illustration, the younger generation attach importance to technology and sustainability, whereas older customers might emphasize health and accessibility. Demographic information can enable manager to create product and marketing strategies that satisfy different types of customer. And lastly, knowledge on demographic trends can enable manager to plan. It enables them to make prediction of upcoming requirement and adjust business models and remain competitive in the evolving environment. In this way, they will be guaranteeing of the sustainability of their organization in the long run. Finally, considering the demographics enable the manager to learn their employees, get the right talent and better their service to customer and make effective long-term decision. So it is not a matter of number only, it is a matter of future planning. Thank you, and I will pass to next person.
Hi everyone, I am Tachin Simpeshan and my matrix number is 24209085. Now we will be looking into question number 5. Do managers experience environmental stability in their business operations? Environmental stability refers to the degree of consistency and predictability in an organization's external environment. Yes, stability exists when factors like consumer demand, government policies, and economic conditions remain predictable, allowing confident, long-term planning by managers. However, managers today predominantly face environmental uncertainty, where rapid changes in consumer preferences, technology advancement, and global events such as pandemics or geopolitical conflicts routinely disrupt operations and supply chains. While certain sectors may experience temporary stability, the overall economic environment in Malaysia remains dynamic and volatile. Hence, businesses must build adaptability and resilience to navigate the increasing dynamism and volatility of the business environment. To illustrate this, let's look at some prime examples of environmental stability right here in Malaysia. Firstly, The regulated utilities and infrastructure sectors, such as TNB, Tunada Nasional Berhad, which supplies electricity, and Air Selangor, which supplies water, are strong examples of environmental stability. These industries operate under strict long-term regulatory frameworks and government-set tariffs. As electricity and water are essential utility services, these industries also benefit from predictable customer demands and low competitive pressure. This stable environment allows managers to focus on reliable long-term planning and achieving high operational efficiency. Moving on, another example of environmental stability is Malaysia's government-linked companies in core sectors. Petronas, for instance, operates under the Petroleum Development Act 1974, which grants it an exclusive legal monopoly over all the nation's petroleum resources. Similarly, major banks like Maybank and CIMB Bank are deemed systemically important or too big to fail, which ensures them implicit government backing and high investor confidence. While still exposed to competition, this status provides these businesses with a secure funding base, structured long-term policies, and greater trust and resilience against the market's volatility. Now, let us look at some local examples of environmental uncertainty in Malaysia. A major source of economic uncertainty is the fluctuation of Ringgit Malaysia (MYR) against other major currencies such as the USD. These shifts are caused by global markets, oil prices, and geopolitical tensions, creating instability for import-dependent sectors such as electrical and electronic industries and palm oil industries in Malaysia. When the ringgit weakens, imported materials, goods, and machinery prices will increase, causing inflation in the overall business input costs. Consequently, managers face severe budgeting uncertainty and are unable to accurately forecast operating costs, forcing them to make frequent adjustments to financial and pricing plans. Finally, climate and weather uncertainty is also a major source of environmental uncertainty here in Malaysia, as extreme weather events occur regularly here without warning. For instance, in the agriculture and plantation sector, prolonged droughts will reduce crop yield and quality, while heavy rainfall and floods, especially in states like Sabah, Kelantan, and parts of Selangor, disrupt operations, cause harvest and shipment delays, and create unpredictable supply levels. Meanwhile, in the tourism sector, unpredictable monsoon seasons and recurring seasonal haze often lead to last-minute booking cancellations by tourists, resulting in operational inefficiencies like overstaffing, food wastage, and significant revenue losses.
Hello everyone, my name is Feng Xinjie and my matrix number is 25005007. Today, I will be discussing about the case application 1, which is about the organizational culture, organizational values, and the leader's influence on culture. The first main point is about the Travis Kalanick's downfall. The beginning of Travis Kalanick's downfall as Uber's CEO started with a 2017 blog post by former Uber engineer Susan Fowler, which exposed a toxic work culture, especially hostile to women. The second point is about the Uber's origin. Uber was founded in the year 2008 after Kalanick and a friend struggled to hail a cab in Paris. This led to the creation of the Uber app, revolutionizing the ride-hailing industry. So now, let's move on to the point 3. The third point is about the Uber's growth. Uber grew into the world's largest ride-hailing company, with over 14,000 employees and a valuation of about 70 billion, becoming the most highly valued startup in history. The fourth point is about the Kalanick's leadership style. Kalanick promoted a business culture focused on the hypergrowth at all costs and winning at all costs. He valued confrontation and aggressiveness with slogans like "always be hustling" and "top stepping." The fifth point is about the toxic work culture. The company's work environment celebrated aggressive behaviors like chest bumps and push-up contests, which alienated female employees and others who didn't fit into this culture.
Regarding point 6 in our case, Uber used a secret tool called Grable to deliberately invade law enforcement authorities in various cities. This wasn't just aggressive competition, it was a deliberate strategy to obstruct regulatory oversight. Moving to point 7, which highlights a profound ethical failure. Following a horrific rape of a passenger in India, Uber executives not only obtained and improperly shared the victim's confidential medical records, but also proposed a conspiracy theory blaming a local competitor. This proved a complete disregard for victim privacy and ethical conduct. Point 8 shows this was not isolated. Uber engaged in a whole pattern of misconduct, including corporate espionage against rivals, concealing a massive data breach for over a year, and knowingly leasing unsafe vehicles to drivers. This establishes a culture where rules were seen as obstacles. Point 9 was that Uber's all major investors lost confidence. They eventually forced the founder and CEO, Travis Kalanick, to resign. This was a pivotal moment, showing that the toxic culture was started at the top and required a leadership change to fix. Finally, point 10 marks the new beginning. The board brought in Dara Khosrowshahi as the new CEO. His primary mission was that to overhaul the toxic culture, rebuild the executive team, and restore trust. Described as humble, a good listener, and a diplomat, he represented a complete 180-degree turn in leadership style from Kalanick.
So now, let's move on to the discussion question. Question 1. What role does a CEO play in an organization's culture? And what role do other leaders or managers play? And what roles should they play? The CEO plays a critical role in shaping an organization's culture. Firstly, the CEO sets the tone and values. At Uber, Travis Kalanick promoted an aggressive win-at-all-cost culture which influenced how employees behave. Secondly, the CEO models behavior. Employees observe and imitate the CEO's action. Kalanick's confrontational style and tolerance of rule-breaking becoming part of the Uber's workplace norms. Finally, the CEO can change or reset culture. Replacing Kalanick with a humble and diplomatic CEO showed that leadership can transform company values and create a healthier work environment. Let's move on to the role of other leaders or managers should do. Firstly, at Uber, managers often turn a blind eye to misconduct and aggressive behavior, which reinforce the toxic culture. In my opinion, they should uphold the ethical standards and the model positive behavior to support a healthy culture. Secondly, managers in Uber were always involved in actions like spying on competitors, hiding data breaches, and ignoring complaints, and this contribute to the unethical practices. In my opinion, they should enforce the rules, monitor compliance, and ensure accountability across the teams. And finally, the Uber managers always celebrated a male-dominated, aggressive baller culture, neglecting the collaboration and the inclusivity. In my opinion, they should promote teamwork, inclusion, and a safe work environment for all employees, including the female employees. So now, let's move on to the next question. Based on the Exhibit 4-4, organizational culture affects managers in two ways: through its effect on what employees do and how they behave, and through its effect on what managers do as they plan, organize, lead, and control. For the Uber's culture under its founder, there are effects on the employee behavior. Employees were encouraged to be aggressive, confrontational, and hyper-competitive, reflecting Kalanick's values of hyper-growth at all costs and win at all costs. The workplace always celebrated the male-dominated polo behaviors like push-up contests and chest bumps, which alienated the female employees and those who did not want to participate. The employees sometimes engaged in the unethical practices such as hiding data breaches, spying on rivals, and ignoring complaints because such behavior was modeled and tolerated by the leadership. There are also some effects on the manager's action. The managers often turned a blind eye to misconduct and reinforced the aggressive, high-pressure culture. They always participated in or allowed rule-breaking and unethical actions like secret technology use to avoid law enforcement and mishandling sensitive incidents, for example like rape case in India. Managers always focus on the hypergrowth and competition with little emphasis on collaboration, inclusivity, or employee well-being, reflecting the CEO's priorities. Now, let's move on to the next question. Based on the passage, the management view played out at Uber under Kalanick is the omnipotent view of management. The CEO is seen as the primary force that shapes the organizational outcomes and culture. There are some reasons. Firstly, CEO directly shape culture and values. Kalanick promoted aggressive, confrontational values like hypergrowth at all costs and win at all costs. And these values influence how employees behave, showing that the CEO's personal style had a direct impact on the organization. Secondly, the CEO's action had influenced all levels of the company, for examples like arguing with drivers publicly, tolerating rule breaking, spying on competitors, and hiding the data breaches. The managers and the employees followed or mimicked these behaviors, reinforcing the idea that the CEO controlled the organization's direction. And next, the board replaced CEO to change culture. The decision to remove Kalanick and appoint Dara illustrates that the CEO is seen as the main driver of culture and performance. And the changing of CEO was expected to reshape the culture, confirming the belief that leadership directly affects the organizational outcomes.
Now let's turn to your question. What advice about organizational culture would you give the new CEO? To successfully transform the organizational culture, the new CEO should begin by defining and reinforcing a new set of core values. Replacing aggressive values such as always be hustling with principles like integrity, respect, collaboration, accountability, and safety. These values must be embedded into all decision-making process and performance metrics. It is equally critical to align systems and structures by hiring and promoting individuals who demonstrate both competence and cultural fit, mandating training in ethics, inclusion, and leadership, and designing rewards that incentivize not only outcomes but also how those outcomes are achieved. Finally, the CEO must communicate relentlessly and lead by example, acting as the primary role model for the new culture, conveying the vision with transparency and consistency, and holding everyone, especially leaders, accountable to the new standards. From an ethics perspective, what part of this situation disturbs you the most? What career advice as far as ethical behavior could you take away from this story? The most disturbing aspect is not merely isolated incidents, but a systemic ethical failure, a top-down normalization of unethical behavior where a win at all costs culture treated legal and moral boundaries as obstacles rather than guardrails, leading to a complete breakdown of the organizational ethical compass. For every professional, this underscores critical career lessons. The tone at the top is real. Leadership sets the ethical climate, so research a company's culture before joining. Remember that culture trumps compliance. Observe what behaviors are truly rewarded, not just what's right in policies. Maintain your own ethical framework and never outsource your moral judgment. being prepared to speak up or walk away if needed, and define success beyond the metrics, recognizing that sustainable careers are built on trust and integrity, not just short-term financial gains.
Moving on to case application 2, which is not sold out. Below is a quick summary of this case application. First, leadership presence. Tableau has a strong focus on expanding globally through leadership presence. The company believes that growth isn't just about opening offices, it's about leaders being present and connected with teams around the world. Second, understanding real challenges. CEO Christian Chabot emphasized that being physically present in international offices helps leaders understand real challenges, be it cultural, managerial, or even operational. He believes that presence builds trust and stronger global management to tackle with cultural difference as well as time difference. Next, visualization software. Tableau provides powerful analytics and visualization software. Their tools help organizations to turn data into insights, which supports a smarter business decision-making worldwide. Moving on, competitive market. Even with competition from tech giants like Microsoft, Tableau continues to grow. Its innovation, quality, and user-focused design have helped it to maintain and expand its market share. The fifth point comes with a high revenue. International markets now make up nearly 1/4 of Tableau's total revenue. This shows that the global operations play a huge role in the company's overall success. Furthermore, in terms of international employees, Tableau employs thousands of people globally and keeps expanding. It has offices in cities like Shanghai, Singapore, Sydney, and London, and continues to hire internationally. Besides, the importance of hands-on experience. To understand global challenges better, Chabot spent almost a year working in Tableau's London's office. This hands-on experience allowed him to see how international operations truly function day to day. Apart from that, Chabot's time in London helped him to improve Tableau international management practices. He learned how important communication, inclusion, and cultural awareness are to global success. Thus, tailoring management practices with local cultural context increases the productivity for respective international office. Next, connectivity issues. Chabot discovered that international branch employee has a fewer connection from headquarters. Many felt that their voice weren't heard or they weren't taken seriously by teams back in Seattle. Last but not least, spending time abroad. His example inspired others Tableau executives to spend time abroad too. This new approach has strengthened the way that the company can connect between the members, which is the employees, and build a more unified company culture.
Now, let's look at the discussion questions. Question 4.16. Tableau staff is international officers primarily with host country nationals. What are the advantages and disadvantages of this staffing strategy? First, let's talk about the advantages. The first advantage is cultural understanding. Host country nationals have strong knowledge of their own culture, language, and business environment. Because of that, they can help Tableau adapt its products, communication, and marketing more effectively to local markets. The second advantage is lower cost. Hiring local employees is usually much cheaper than sending expatriates from the US. So Tableau doesn't have to pay for relocation, housing, or international benefits, which helps the company save money while still maintaining a strong presence abroad. Next, disadvantages. The first disadvantage is coordination challenge. Communication between headquarters in Seattle and the international offices can sometimes be difficult. Cultural and language differences may cause misunderstandings or slow decision making. The second disadvantage is training and integration costs. Even though locals know their markets well. Tableau still needs to invest time and resources to train them on company values, standards, and technology. In summary, staffing with host country nationals helps Tableau stay local and cost efficient, but it also requires strong communication and training to keep everyone aligned with the company's goals. Next, question 4.7. Do you agree with Chabot that the company will benefit if more executives spend time in international offices? Why or why not? Our answer is yes. We agree with Christian Chabot that Tableau will benefit if more executives spend time in international office. There are several reasons for this. First, they gain first-hand understanding of local market, cultures, and customer needs when executives work abroad. This helps them make better strategy decisions and design products or services that fit each region more effectively. Second, spending time in different offices strengthens relationships and trust between headquarters and international teams. Employees abroad often feel disconnected from the main office, so having leaders physically present makes them feel heard, valued, and supported. Third, international exposure develops global leadership skills. Executives learn to manage diverse teams, adapt to cultural differences, and communicate across time zones. In conclusion, having executives spend time in international offices promotes cultural understanding, stronger teamwork, and smarter global strategies. They are the key ingredients for Tableau's continued international success.
Question 4.18. As Tableau executives get ready to spend time in the company's international offices, how can they prepare for the cultural differences they will encounter? Firstly, they need to develop cultural intelligence through research. Executives must proactively study the country's social norms, business etiquettes, and workplace behavior to avoid misunderstandings. For example, in Japan, silence is a sign of thoughtfulness, not disagreement. If executives misinterpret silence as a lack of ideas, they may wrongly assume low engagement. Secondly, executives are supposed to participate in cross-cultural training programs. Training exposes executives to typical scenarios they may encounter abroad, such as conflict management, communications, preference, or teamwork styles. For instance, Asian cultures discourage public criticism, so feedback should be given privately and gently. Thirdly, they are encouraged to learn basic local language phrases. Even simple greetings or expressions of thanks can create a positive impression. For example, using Malay greetings like Selamat Pagi in Malaysia shows that the executive is trying to connect sincerely. Lastly, they also need to learn about local business etiquette. Small gestures such as appropriate greetings, gift-giving customs, or meeting etiquette shape first impressions. Example, presenting business cards with both hands in China reflects professionalism and respect. Next, question 4.19. What are some of the challenges Tableau will face as it hires 1,000 new employees in 1 year? First and foremost, potential decline in employee engagement and morale. Long-term employees may feel overlooked or threatened by the sudden influx of new staff. Example, employees might worry about losing opportunities for promotions or about the company becoming too big and bureaucratic. Secondly, challenges in maintaining quality onboarding and training. Onboarding 1,000 people requires significant resources. For instance, training teams may struggle to accommodate large groups, leading to rush sessions or lack of follow-up support. In addition, coordination and workflow disruptions. New employees need time to understand processes, tools, and expectations. Example, project deadlines may slow down as teams adjust to new members who are still learning internal systems. Last but not least, difficulty maintaining the existing organizational culture. Hiring so many new employees quickly can dilute Tableau's unite culture. For instance, new hires from different countries may not be familiar with Tableau's emphasis on transparency and open communication.